Hello, my name's Jocelin Harrison. I am now a 60-year-old lady living in South Lanarkshire and working part-time, very part-time hours. I'm registered disabled and have been for over 30 years following a severe spinal injury and various surgeries that I had to be undergone following that. Um, I re-engaged with the world of work just about a year ago. I started working in retail, and just shortly after that, I got involved with APT through the Lanarkshire Association of Mental Health and World of Work. They put me in touch with APT. So about a year, I would say that I've made some significant changes in my life for the better, which have proved to be, on the whole, very positive. There have been a few negative things with trying to get back into the world of work, but on the whole, I would say it was a wholly positive experience and one that I would recommend to other people who are disabled in any way to try and become involved in the world of work, because it does have such benefits to your mental health and to your physical health as well, and to your social life.
Thanks for that, Jocelyn. That's great. If we move on, how does your disability affect you in the workplace?
Um, I am very. I consider myself. I'm physically disabled. I can't stand or walk very far, or stand for very long. So it's like a lot of disabled people. I've a physical disability that restricts what I can do, but I've got so much more to offer that I try never to let that one aspect of my life dictate the whole of my life. So that's why it was very important for me to get back into some sort of paid employment, no matter how small. And I only work 8 hours a week, but it is the most beneficial time of my week.
Yeah, that's really positive to hear. Can you tell me how your disability has impacted positively in getting a job or retaining employment?
Um, I think I've been very lucky with the retailers that I work with. Um, it was, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think that the introduction to employment as a disabled person, I think the my employers struggled a bit in the beginning to accommodate me, but when they realised that I was registered disabled, that I was very keen to be employed and to be an ambassador for their company, they have accommodated me, made more than reasonable adjustments to make sure that I can be included in the workforce. And they continue to support and motivate and promote me to be part of the workforce. And I couldn't be happier with that.
There was a from previous conversations you said to me, there was an example in your induction that your employers learned from. Um, can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, again, it came down to communication breakdown. I think I'd had my interview for the job, because we were still in COVID times. It was on Zoom, and although I had applied for the job as a registered disabled employee, the interview took place over Zoom, so they couldn't see that I was physically disabled. And when I turned up at the induction with my crutch, which I used to mobilise, you could see a look of horror on the manager's face, like, well, how are we going to accommodate this person? In fairness to them, they didn't, hesitate. They were inclusive and welcoming, but a lot of the time, not from what's said, but from what's not said, that this me turning up as a disabled employee was a complete surprise to them. They didn't know, but in fairness to them, they 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 engaged with it, and they got on with it. And from that moment on, they started making adjustments to accommodate me.
So it was a learning experience for everyone and a positive one at that.
Yeah, it was. It was a learning experience, and for myself as well as for them, because I had a rose tinted spectacle sort of view of what employment would be and what I would be able to do, and that I would be able to do every aspect of the job. And the reality was that I couldn't. I physically couldn't. Um, and there was a point where I thought, I'm going to have to give this up. You know, certainly early on in the induction, I thought, how am I going to be able to do this? I can't stand for that length of time. I can't stack shelves. I can't do things that all the other people are going to do and what's expected of me. And at the end of the induction, I had a word with my line manager, and I just said, look, um, I can't do that aspect of the job. But if you want somebody to be an ambassador for your store, to sit on a till, to give fantastic customer service, to be friendly and approachable, and to promote you know your name as a retailer, I can do that if you'll allow me to do that. I said, but if you're to say to me, no, you have to do every aspect of that job, then no, I have to walk away. And I was very fortunate that my manager said, yeah, we can do that. If you know, yeah, if that's what you can do and you can sit on a till, that's fine. Yeah, we can do that. So right from the get go, they started making changes to accommodate me, and they we've had a very um, open relationship since that. You know, if I say, oh, well, I'm kind of struggling a wee bit, but with that footstool, is there any chance we could get a new footstool? That one's broken. It's done. It's sorted. You know, for the next shift that I come in. So yeah, they have been very what's the word? They've just been on board and very open to suggestions, and you know how they can make things right for me and comfortable for me and accommodate me. Um, and I think I can't remember if I'd said to you, but I've now got 2 customer service awards from this retailer for giving good service to customers, and I'm absolutely delighted about that, because I feel, all right, well, I'm able to pay back a bit to them for the confidence they showed in employing me.
Yeah, you feel like it's a two-way street.
Absolutely. But I've always believed that a relationship with your employer, or being an employee, is a two-way street. It's all about give and take, and that doesn't, irrespective of a disability, as an employee, you know, you have to come and go with your employer and try and build a working relationship. And I'm very pleased. I think I've got a really good working relationship with my employer.
It sounds like it, and I think we've already covered a lot of the next question, but I'll ask it anyway in case you get anything else you want to add. But can you give me any other examples other than what you just have of good practice from your employer supporting you in the workplace?
Yeah, certainly there was an incident fairly early on in my employment history. And again, this was partly stubbornness on my part, that I was determined that I was keeping this job, and I was going to do this job, and I pushed the boundaries of what I was physically capable of doing. And I had to take a couple of days off sick, because I was, you know, I was in so much pain with my back. When I went back to work, you obviously have the back to work interview, and my employer, you know, sort of said to me, right, you know, what happened? And I said, well, it was my own fault. I was pushing the boundaries of what I'm capable of doing physically. And she said, right, well, how can we help you with that? Um, and how can we support you with that? And obviously, because I'd been off sick, I'd got a sickness absence. Um, and she said, we'll support you now. Any future absences that are related to your back, she said, we won't count them. They will not be counted against you. Um, obviously, if you have the flu or anything else, yeah, that is accounted against you. But anything related to your back, we won't count that as accountable absence. And that just took the pressure off me, because I was so worried that I would do something, I would hurt my back again, or jeopardize all the metalwork that I've got there. And then I would run up a sickness absence that would lead to, some sort of warning. And for them, they've taken that pressure off me, which was brilliant. And that was a really supportive thing to do. And that's really helped me.
Yeah, even the smallest things make the biggest difference sometimes, don't they?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, can, can you um tell me your opinion on how good practices should be implemented into policies in the workplace?
Yeah, I mean, I would have thought that by now most employers should have, some sort of diversity policy anyway. I think by law they probably have to have. Um, but as I say, having, doing what the law dictates or regulations dictate is one thing. And the company I work for do that, but the company I work for actually go the extra mile, that I find. Um, I know that I'm not the only disabled employee that they have, and they have good practices in that they accommodate um, my other colleagues who have disabilities, and try and make the job fit in to what they're capable of doing. And it's never in a overt way. It's always done, um, kindly, considerately, and to make that team member still feel part of a team, even though they can't do every aspect of the job that's maybe expected of them. It's inclusivity, and that's all about good, good practice. And I feel very included and very much part of the team. And I know that my other colleagues that have got disabilities feel the same way.
That's really positive and something that any employers watching can hopefully take forward in that, because it's not about getting it right for one person, it's about getting it right for everybody.
Uh,
Whatever that looks like. Um, don't know if you've had much experience of supported employment programs, but what do you think these programs could do better?
um, I have actually, because my disability was 30 years ago. And after I think it was my third spinal operation, I went back to work. I went to work for the NHS as a clerical officer. And that was very much under um, at that time, there was a lot of support and motivation for employers to be disabled inclusive. And they were very keen. I'm sure I could be wrong. I think there was financial um, rewards for people taking on disabled members at that time. And I continued to work with the NHS for 22 years. Um, so, yeah, I had a fairly long employment history as a disabled member of staff within the NHS. But I could tell towards the end of it, of my employment there, when I was struggling with keeping um, well enough to attend work, the absences were starting to account against me. And, you were then having to go to tribunals and things because your absences were stacking up. And there was no account made of the fact that the absences that I had were all related to the spinal problem. So yeah, that then became a bit of an issue, and it was almost like um, how do I describe it? It's just that they'd fallen out of love with having a disabled person there. I think it was too much like hard work on, and they didn't seem to be able to accommodate the absences that I was having because of my back into the NHS structure. It was just no, your absences are quite high, so we have to go down the warning scheme. It wasn't they took no account of the disability at that stage.
Yeah. And from what you've said, it's quite the opposite with your current employer. So it's
Yeah, it's that's been a game changer for me.
yeah. Um, you mentioned this right at the beginning of the interview in your introduction, but could you tell me more about how being a disabled person in employment impacts on your well-being?
Um, Having employment, being an employed person is something I'm incredibly proud of. As I say, it doesn't matter the fact that I do 2 shifts, I do 8 hours. After every shift that I complete, there's such an element of pride that I've done it, that I've provided good customer service, that I've done a job that I'm getting paid for. There's nothing to beat earning your own money. And yes, I'm very reliant on the benefit system, but I'm working these hours, and the money that I earn from that is precious because I've earned it. I've put myself out there. I've put a uniform on. I've been in a customer facing role, and I've earned that. And the pride that you get from that, and the self respect and the sense of well being, is I think it is incredible, to have structure to your life, to be able to say, right, well, I work 2 days, and then you build your life sort of around that because work takes priority. I think what it does for your self esteem, for your motivation, for your sense of self worth, um, is is brilliant. Is brilliant. And a lot of people say, well, you're basically a checkout girl. That's fine. I'm happy being a checkout girl because I've earned my money today. I've met people today. I've been kind to people today. I've helped people. I think that's what I love about the job, is that when I'm sitting at the till, nobody knows that I'm disabled because my crutch is stuck at the side. So to all intents and purposes, they see me from there onwards. They judge me from there onwards, uh, and and I'm delighted with that. As soon as I stand up and I walk, they see me differently. But 99% of the customers coming through the till don't see me as disabled, and it's it's a bit of freedom for me actually because um, I'm not having to um, defend, not ever that I ever defend my disability, but I'm not being judged. I'm not being judged. I'm not being looked at, um, or people aren't moving out the way for me. I'm doing a job, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, that is really positive, and I think well-being is something that maybe employers don't think of when they think of being employed, but it just lets them see the bigger picture for a
Uh-huh.
disabled person. So that's a really positive thing. What do you think are the key things you've learned about yourself or in general as part of your employment journey to date?
I think because I'd been unemployed for 6 years, I think it was. And I'd kind of thought I'll never get back to paid employment. I think never give up hope. I've learned to be tenacious, stubborn, um, especially around areas of accessing technology, because since I'd applied for jobs in the past, Everything now is online. Everything was obviously because we were in COVID. Everything was on Zoom or on camera, and the technology side of applying for jobs was a steep learning curve for me. But I've learned that you just have to keep plugging away at things, that not to be put off by rejection, because obviously the job that I have now was not the first job I applied for. I applied for many, many roles. Um, and I think it's just taught me that it doesn't matter. I'm now 60, so I'm probably at the kind of late end of the employability scale, but I was determined that I wanted to do some sort of paid work. And I think if you're determined enough, and you have a bit of luck, and you have employers that are willing to take a chance on you, then it can have a really positive outcome. And I think that the company that I work for would say that them taking a chance on me has been positive. I get on really well with my colleagues. I have a really good relationship with all of my colleagues, and I feel very included and very much part of the team. It has been a very positive experience, but it's not been without its challenges. It's pushed me to do things that I was not comfortable about doing, i.e. the technology side of it. But on the whole, I would say it's been 100% positive experience.
Thank you. And one last question. What advice would you give to employers watching in terms of employing a disabled person, and with regards to employing and retaining a diverse workforce?
I think what I would say to any employer is, I think I was so lucky that my employers took a chance on me, and they were happy to make changes and accommodate. There's talk about reasonable adjustments. That doesn't have to cost an employer a lot of money. They didn't have to make reasonable or huge physical adjustments to accommodate me in the workforce. They had to make adjustments to shift patterns and the amount of hours that I could work, but that didn't cost them any money. I think what I would say to employers is, the company I work for have got a member of staff who turns up early for her shift, is there before she needs to be there, is there after her shift is finished, because she's so grateful and happy to be recognised as part of a team, and to be included. And if an employer gives somebody that chance, they will get paid back 100-fold, because they'll have an employee who wants to be there, who is desperate to succeed and be part of a team. So I think if employers have got any doubts about employing a disabled person, look for the bigger picture, because eventually you'll have somebody, if you're prepared to take a chance and possibly make some adjustments, have conversations with your employee about how can we include you, how can we make things better for you, then they'll have an employee who will turn up time and time again for every shift, and be a brilliant ambassador for their employer, because they feel that they're included, and they're part of a team. And that's worth its weight in gold to any employer, if you've got somebody who really wants to be there.
Yeah.